Happen.
Pray
Shane, how are you feeling?
Doing all right. A little feverish, but I took a COVID test. I'm COVID negative, so that's
Right.
good. But just in
Good.
case, do this from a
Yeah,
safe
thanks.
distance.
Yeah, this is one case where I'm glad there's Zoom because we at least get you this way. Can I introduce Michael Zeeler? You guys have never met, but I'm not sure you're on camera. Michael's over there, but there we are.
All right.
Shane,
Pat, hello.
meet you.
How's it going?
All right. I'm not a member, actually, not yet.
Oh yeah, no, but I've seen you at past meetings, of course.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah.
probably
Oh, nice to formally meet you.
likewise. Hope you feel better.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope so too, Shane. Well, thanks for joining us, and feel free to pipe up. Just make yourself known.
Sure thing.
I think we can go ahead and get started with at least the basics of our agenda. Val, are we good? Okay. Okay, so everybody, I'm going to declare open this meeting of the Design Review Board and Historic Preservation Commission of the Village of New Paltz, a regular meeting, January 9th, 2023. We are starting at 7:02 p.m. and our first item is, and maybe I'll just note for the record that Shane Reedy is joining us by Zoom as a consequence of feeling unwell and not wanting to spread what has afflicted him. So thank you for that kindness, Shane. Our first order of business is to look at the minutes from December 19th, a special meeting. And I've been through them, so I don't have any comments.
They look okay to me.
Shane, did you have any thoughts or corrections to the minutes?
Well, I was away for that last meeting. However, I didn't. Nothing stood out to me from things that we've been talking about. That I'm privy to. So it all looked good to me.
Okay. Good. Is there a motion to approve then?
Second.
Seconded by Steve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Shane's as well. Okay, so that's great. Thanks, everybody. No updates from Bill, who can't attend. However, I want to report something that he's interested in pursuing, which is the state of bluestone sidewalks in the village. It's something I know he's mentioned before, and I think would like to see an initiative around preserving them, and sort of raise the possibility that we might have a hand in that. And I think probably we do have a right to have a hand in that, as part of looking at the overall preservation potential of any parcel. So I think I just wanted to get that in the minutes and note that maybe at the next meeting that Bill's in attendance, we'll come back to that. Any thoughts on that particular issue?
I think it's great. I was walking down Prospect Street just the other day, and near where Bill lives, and that street has spots, and there are lots of spots throughout the village where the sidewalks, bluestone is in disrepair.
I think it's a great idea in theory, but I'm just not sure it's fair for the homeowners to put that homes on them, because we know how expensive it is, and many people have no say whether there's a sidewalk in front of them.
Yeah, that's. I'm not sure every community does sidewalks this way. I mean, I think, for example, my sister lives in a suburb of Chicago, and I don't think the maintenance. I think the clearing of the snow falls to residents, but I don't think. the
Yeah, like
maintenance-
me, that gets charged $400 after I clean it, and then the village comes and puts all the snow back on the snow.
For example, yeah. Do you know if other communities?
It's been a long time. I know this has been a long-standing discussion about whose responsibility are the sidewalks, because they're in the public right of way.
Yeah,
I mean, they always are in the public right of way.
yeah.
But residents aren't responsible for maintenance. They are?
Yeah.
What do you
What kind
mean?
of maintenance?
So, for example, ours was badly degraded and had, because our road had been repaved so many
Right.
times, it was actually below the crest of the road, and so we're getting perpetual issues, much like what you said, where it would ice over. There'd be some melt
Right,
and then
of course.
refreeze, and we just had perpetually dangerous sidewalks that we couldn't do anything about. So we approached the village, and the answer was, and I actually felt happy with this solution, that they were willing, they would not pay to replace the sidewalk, but they would put the crew on the removal of the old one, which saved about half the price of
They
doing so.
They require, I've never, I guess we'll have to talk, I'm not aware, we never had a situation where residents had to replace their sidewalks. That's what or repair. their
Yeah, no, I
sidewalks.
don't think I was forced to, but it was an issue where I just didn't
But they-
want that in front of my house.
Other than snow removal and general keeping them clear, that's, I thought, the limit of any residents' responsibility. I mean, sidewalks are concrete sidewalks are very expensive.
I know, I learned that.
And I've never, I mean, we never we never had a situation where we asked residents to pay for the replacement or significant repair or something.
And the village did.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. So no, that's
Because
evolved.
that's usually come through state money, the Consolidated Highway Improvement Program, the CHIPS program.
Yeah.
And at one point in time, back when Nyquist was mayor, and it may have continued on with Jason for a little while, there was pretty much a sidewalk remediation plan in place, so that basically X number of sidewalk, certain linear feet of sidewalks would get replaced.
Budgeted it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was generally budgeted in, and the DPW sort of kept track of what was going to be done. So we should probably talk to the DPW superintendent with this discussion about any sidewalks, but especially Bluestone,
Yeah.
which is, as Camilla said, significantly more expensive.
Mm.
May I chime in into this? Yes, so clearing the snow has been always a problem. Let's see, it was in December 2019, there was a huge storm. Had the sidewalk cleared. Anyways, I got a ticket and it was a protracted affair, and then I didn't get a resolution till after the pandemic ended. Anyways, in the intervening years, when I saw one of the village plows going through Elping, once I said, John, could you clear the snow away from my sidewalk? Because there's this huge plow, which he plows the snow from the road onto the sidewalks. They just do that. And he said, sure. And it was fine. So then I went to, I don't know whether I went actually to Blue or whether I talked to Timmy. And I said, this is what happened. Why don't you include it into their clearing the roads, that if they pile it on the sidewalks, because some streets do not have sidewalks. Those are the happy owners. And he said, you should never ask them to do anything extra for you. I said, we are friends. But it's really, I think that in a way, if the sidewalks are the landowner responsibility, which means it's really mine. I think, why should I be responsible for something which isn't mine? Isn't it in effect a trespassing when people walk on my sidewalk?
Interesting legal
Yeah.
questions. I think we need research on this. To be honest.
And there's one thing Tim Rogers posted on Facebook just in December. We have been in regular contact with New York State DOT about sidewalks and crosswalks for years. We have a meeting with DOT officials on Thursday. That would have been mid-December to go over several spots in the village of New Paltz where they want to improve sidewalks and ADA curbs. So I know, I seem to remember another post that he said funding for sidewalks is very hard to get. So that, you know, and I would imagine there would also be a dichotomy between spending money for concrete, which is expensive, but to get bluestone and lay that is probably twice as expensive.
Mhm.
So the funding would be hard enough for concrete, which is not original, which is not right, but I would imagine that in most places that would be what would be used if public funds were being applied.
Yeah. I think there's a further complication because some of the sidewalks have to conform to New York State DOT and some are just village streets. And we ran into this with property owner on Front Street and the specs were just astronomical because it's technically that part of Front Street, I guess, is still in
Yeah, by the little lighted line where there's red spray paint on the ground. Yeah, that's a mess.
Yeah. Something like that, you know, really expensive.
But I wonder if somebody walks on Plattekill going towards Chase Manhattan. That's a horrible sidewalk. That's really, you know, climbing rocks on at Long. And the person falls and breaks their leg. Who pays for it? The village or the person by whose house the sidewalk is going? And would that finally then make somebody say, you know, we cannot really have a bluestone and then this much of a space and another bluestone, which is going a little higher level?
Do you know the answer to that, Michael?
I don't for sure, so I don't want to be on the record about a legal question like that. But again, what I can say for sure is that sidewalks are in the public right of way. So they're in the
Public right of
They're in
way.
the public right of way. So on a village road, the village owns the road and they own a certain amount of distance from the center of the road to the sides. Sidewalks are always built within those. So although property owners may have responsibilities for the sidewalks in front of their houses, they don't own the sidewalks. So, and the village has responsibilities for the sidewalks as well. That's, I guess the question is.
Yeah,
Which responsibilities does each party have? So I legally, I'm not qualified to answer.
somebody
that
would
question.
know though. And I think, we can add to that, tree root growth really, I'm very familiar with Oakwood Terrace where I walk to work and it's just up and down and it's because tree roots, which presumably also belong to the village, are replanted. I think we need research on that. So we'll try to get up to speed. Let's bring Jeremy and his guest. We haven't met yet, so I'll just say for the moment, his guest, come to the table, please.
All right. This is Nikki Johnson. He's our team leader,
Nikki, nice.
who was in Jamaica last time.
Lucky you.
Much warmer place.
Welcome back to upstate.
And
I'm
Mike sends his apologies that he wasn't able to make it, but we are here.
always welcome anytime. Nikki, welcome to the. Yeah. I get one of my dearest friends is in St. Croix now, so having the same weather as Jamaica. And he's very happy to tell me about the 80-degree days and the 60-degree nights.
It's always very cold. Did you ever think, if I may again, did you ever think to ask Elting Library if those meetings could be held in Steinberg room?
If our meetings, I think the village's determination is this is the meeting space, that was the template. Well, we can probably fix the whole. Anybody else? Oh, sorry, that's.
One lock thermostat over there.
No, that's fine. Yeah, we know what it is.
That's great.
During the pandemic, during the end of the pandemic, the village board was meeting in the Steinberg community. Because they couldn't do very well. True.
Actually, I turned it up several degrees, so maybe we'll start to feel that. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
May your AC and heat be better than ours.
Always throw it up. We have samples of things.
Good.
Would you want to open with anything, or do you want
No,
me
I
to
think-
just
I think
present the?
we're all familiar. I wanted just to add that another member is feeling under the weather, not COVID, but also not wishing to spread whatever he has. So behind you is Shane Reedy, who's on our commission and is joining by Zoom.
Hello,
Good to meet you.
nice to meet you guys.
No, jump in, Jeremy. Please.
Awesome. So I think, so we want to just take the action items from last time, and the first, there was just the request for the rendering with the street view. So
Yeah, hugely helpful.
so there we have it. And I apologize that there are a couple details that just aren't in there. That top edge, and then the overhead lights. But
Okay.
those are in the application. I just wanted to show, these are very small. I don't know if you saw the dimensions on these, but these are 5 by 6 inches. These are
Okay.
like this big. They're gonna be white, and it's like 3 of them, just imagine like in a line right across. So like almost totally hidden. And then we have the brick, and happy to take a look. This is a tumbled brick. Yeah, it's designers pick always find the most expensive thing.
Of course they do.
And great. And that will of course be painted white. It comes in all kinds of colors. This is just going to be the easiest to paint in white. We'll have to do the fewest coats. But this should give a very kind of classic weathered brick facade look that'll look very clean for us. But this obviously is not a super new modern,
Right.
which I think would stick out as something that was somewhat out of place. It was really sharp edged brick. So this should look like a pretty nice weathered facade, but then clean with the white. Also do have paint samples. This is the color, and I just want to show you, as confirmed, it is an off-white that the designers were going for. But happy to.
Okay.
So it's white, but it is a
Oh,
off.
I think it's more like both.
Right,
but
yeah,
it's-
no, that almost like a.
Anything that's not real white.
Yeah, sure, yes. In fact, it's called gardenia. So
The white is called
No.
gardenia.
yes.
You want to-
And I don't think you'll be able to see the resolution of the screen, but if you do, probably that Valerie sent around the application with the new rendering of the street view, and you can see the brick pattern on that. And then so this is a Sunday morning at 7 a.m. And then we unfortunately don't have samples of this. The reason is this was in stock when designers picked it. Is no longer in stock. They're going to find a very similar one.
Okay.
But if you're interested in just seeing what that penny tile for the bench looks like, it's a very standard penny tile and nice shade of red.
Okay, so originally it was a dog file, I think.
It was intended to match the color of the logo our logo as close as possible, which is the Pantone 1788C is our color. It's not gonna be perfect, but it'll be.
So this is not the real red, this is more what it is.
Yeah, I would take these colors in this rendering with a grain of salt. I think, I mean, this is the real, that is the red, yes.
That's not that.
At least as far as the printer's able to.
Right.
render.
Correct, yes. Yep.
Hmm.
And a couple other, and then did get confirmation from the, designers about where the two buildings meet, the three buildings meet on both sides.
Mhm.
There's a reveal detail, which will be like a 1/2 inch that just goes on. So essentially just a 1/2 inch gap between either facade on either side, and now sort of clean edge on the brick.
Okay. Just so I'm clear, that's the edge that touches the brown and touches the gray.
Yeah, so, you know, with their suggestion is this, the reveal detail is right there, so there'll just be this 1/2 inch gap. Where ours comes down straight line and over on this side. So obviously we have, over here, we have the, that stone veneer on Manny's, so we'll just be set off from the stone veneer by 1/2 inch with our brick essentially coming down the straight
Got it.
line, so it looks very clean.
And it too presumably would be painted white.
The gap,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a good question.
It belongs to you, or is it?
That would be on our,
That's some
Our
sort of
building,
detail
but,
that I
yeah.
shouldn't be fussing
Yeah.
about.
it'll just look very clean and, not at all intended to draw the eye. So, I think those were let me know if there is anything else that I'm missing.
Is that considered a 2x8 brick? Did anybody mention?
It is, they said a standard brick size, and I could probably tell you because I had it here.
Okay.
It is, that is 2 1/4 by 7 5/8. And this is small, but you can see, I mean, these are just from the website of this, the manufacturer of this particular one. You can just see, I mean, it's, you know, it's a weathered.
Yep.
Brickfloortile.com. As the vendor, I'm not sure the manufacturer. Not the designers. They give another view on the site. So, I mean, this is obviously was painted to look even more weathered with, you know, lime or something like that. But, you know, it gives a nice, I think a nice effect with that. That's the same one. Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
It's got enough mass that you can actually get a.
Yeah. Some definition with the mortar behind it.
Yeah, mortar line that, yeah.
Yes.
Good. Thank you for doing that work. I hope that rendering wasn't too expensive,
No,
but
they were-
hugely helpful to us.
Yeah,
That
no, it's
just,
helpful for
like,
us too.
really, really, you know, represents the street. One of the things we often run into is we get renderings, but they're kind of in a limbo of green trees and people with bicycles, and it isn't our downtown. This is actually really helpful. Camilla, you had some ideas that were
I
shared
just
with
had
us.
some suggestions.
Yeah.
I made a couple of. These are very, very low tech renderings.
Thank you
Just
so
use
much.
color pencil to show you something that ease the transition. You know, you have very bright colors here. To ease the transition between your facade and PNGs, maybe the brick would be painted a brick color.
Yeah.
Or similar to the logo.
And so this, your suggestion is
Yeah.
like a natural brick color?
And it could also frame your building and give the facade a more.
Yeah, very interesting to look at.
I just,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was the other one. Yes.
I don't know if you, I know you don't like the awning.
Oh, no, I apologize for not mentioning that one. This is on them. Designers were not in favor of of an awning. Just design wise, that was their view.
It's just for
but,
practical
yeah.
purposes. Since it's not a dive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how everybody feels about it. It's just a idea.
Thank you
And
so
then
much.
here, just to highlight more details. I use the same red logo. Highlight the door.
Thank you. It's
Mm.
great to see.
On the side of menus, since that building is also white, it might be good to have a stop between the two facades to differentiate your building from theirs. And that's why I used also the brick color.
I assume that this is correct, because they were doing this precisely, but this gray border over here, it should hit there, and it should capture that as opposed to being.
Do you know whose wall that is above that where you were just pointing? Is that the end of Manny's wall, or is that? Yeah,
I don't know. That's a great question.
because one of Camilla's suggestions entails that.
Right. I kind of assume it is theirs, but I don't know.
I
Only
kind of
because
do too,
It
but
sort of matches this. What's up? Sure.
But these are just suggestions. I mean,
Thank you. The thing about like this wall right here is, I think it's pretty subtle. Like, I don't think, if you walk over there, P&G's has that awning that comes out here
Mhm.
that I think obscures that for the most part. Like, I actually think in this view here, it is somewhat more prominent
essentially.
than it really is when you walk past that building, as but
Yeah, make Kelly here to assess that.
Yep. Yeah, that's my recollection is that's only about 1.5 feet.
I'm just so shadowed with the P&G's awning coming in there.
Bill, are you suggesting that as a condition or just as, okay,
something.
consider, yeah. I mean, sometimes these things, we can make approvals that have elastic parts of the approval. And
Sure.
sometimes, every drawing on earth doesn't tell you what it actually looks like until you're out there with the can of paint and trying it two ways. I sort of see it both ways, but Camilla's not suggesting that as a condition, so. I'd love to know
Yeah, very
who that wall belongs to. I suspect it may be Manny's, in which case you don't have the right to paint it.
I certainly can't speak for the designers. I think the thing that I've always loved about this facade, generally, tile aside, is that it's so simple. It's just, and hopefully it is catching as well, but not loud or, overly complicated or, anything. And I think especially with the brick, I actually, since we had that conversation, I actually, I think the brick really grew on me. I was really married to the tile, and I did love that tile, but once I started to imagine it, and the other thing I should mention is, I think last time I was here when we were talking about the brick, we talked about doing a, you know, a carved sign, which would be acrylic or something like that, right? That's, you know, an inch thick or something. I actually think that we would prefer to hand paint the sign, which will look even more both subtle, but I think also very striking when you look at the details, because I think that'll give it even more of a classic look. If you imagine a hand painted sign on brick, it's, you know, I think that'll.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole preservation area in itself, is hand painted signs on brick buildings.
And we were thinking of really you know, just adapting even our logo slightly to give it slightly more of a classic look by adding just for that facade here, adding like a drop shadow in gray just around it to, you know, and unfortunately I don't have a reference photo for this, but if you can just imagine like a really classic old building with a hand painted sign on it.
You got the painting?
Yeah, my neighbor. He painted, we have a rocket ship on the back of Moonberger on our chimney in Kingston. And he promised to do an exceptional job, so I know where to find him.
Jeremy, thank you for this work and thinking and showing us products. I'm glad you're comfortable with that, because I think, you know, you've really sort of moved this back into the idiom of what we have on Main Street. You know, just to reiterate how much I also like that crisp tile look, but I felt very, very torn.
I think this will be awesome.
Yeah,
that'd be
really
great.
cool. Let's see if Shane, you're able to see all the images we've been seeing. Any input?
Yes, I guess I just have a question. So 'cause I'm looking at the updated drawings and I see the brick facade option, but is the plan to treat that sidewall you guys were just talking about next to P&G's? Is the plan to have the brick on that surface as well? Or I mean, I know Camilla had presented different options, but like, what is being presented for that wall finish right now? Like, what is the plan for that, or is it still in limbo?
You mean on the P&G's building, on that little?
Yeah, that little like side return, yeah, right there where the cursor
Oh,
is.
sorry. Yeah, apologize. I think Manny's on the other side. So, in the original drawing that we had presented, it included you probably seen in the past version, Shane, there was a rocket ship motif. I actually mentioned in the last meeting that I don't love that, and I'd much rather have something that was much simpler.
Yeah.
And what we were saying is potentially, even if you look at our website and just start packaging, we have like much more subtle kind of whimsical illustration, and like doing like a very small rocket going up the side with a little, you know, jet stream behind it or something, that kind of cascading down. But definitely not something big and loud like was in this original rendering.
But it would be some kind of mural painted onto brick or applied to brick also, like that's
Yeah.
that's gonna be a brick return.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right, so I guess I would just want to make sure. I mean, I'm assuming the brick is the sample you have is like a veneer, is it, or is it actual like a full size brick?
I mean, I don't know what it's technically considered. It's 15/16 thick, so it's pretty thick. But I mean, it is like technically a veneer.
Yeah. But I mean, that's fine. That's to be expected. I guess I would just want to make sure that, you know, if that outside corner is going to be, you know, if the brick is going to return on that little side wall, that the outside corner of the brick is believable, you know, like they have like corner pieces to make it look like, you know, like an actual brick wall.
They do,
you know,
yes.
Okay.
They do have they have this the same in an L shape.
L shape. Yeah, that I
That's
Shane,
great.
thank you for raising that. That's a really key point that makes brick facades look real. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes. Sorry, Tom. No, exactly. I feel like if it's going to be believable, it needs that detail. And, you know, I guess, I guess this is like a construction logistics question that, you know, I don't know if we can answer now, but I mean, just looking at the cedar shingles at P&G's, I mean, that's gonna have to read, again, to make the brick believable, that's gonna have to read that the cedar shingle is dying into the brick, the side of the brick, you know, that the brick continues beyond. So it's just, you know, it's just a matter of getting that detail right. I don't, you know, unfortunately that may mean, you know, removing some of the cedar shingles at P&G's and, you know, installing new ones or reinstalling them. But anyway, I just feel like that detail is important to making that brick wall feel real. But I think the brick is a great idea. I think that's definitely the right move. So yeah.
That's a great point. That's a great point with the shingles. And I'm sure that we can work something out with Mike to, you know, figure out exactly how to do that in a way that is thoughtful.
They can be pulled and replaced and flashed probably.
Yeah, because it's one of those things that if it's not thought of, you know, during construction, it could, you know, a decision could be made on site, which might undermine the whole idea of having the brick on that, you know, as the finish. So just a plan in place to treat that detail.
Yeah, that's a great point.
On me up, what does the burger have to do with that bracket?
Just that it's called Moonburger, and so the you know, most of our imagery is I wish I had a photo of it, but the wrapper for our burger has a bunch of little motifs on it: the moon and an astronaut and a spaceship and planets and stars.
Too deep for me. Blank, or will this bracket be there?
Oh, on this side. So yeah, what I'm suggesting is that instead of the other rendering that we're just looking at, the big rock here, that there was something like a little, you know, imagine a very small, little tiny rocket ship coming, you know, with a line coming down as more of an Easter egg. That's
Maybe suggestive
subtle.
rather than.
Yeah.
Literal.
Which again, I think that where that return is, I think is gonna be pretty subtle with the P&G's awning right there.
Shane, those are really good points. So Jeremy, let's just go through that again. Originally, you talked about having a 1/2 inch gap between the facade of P&G's and likewise Manny's, but I think Shane's right that where it meets the cedar shingling, it really needs to kind of bury itself in there.
Right. Yes.
Get flashed, and there's probably going to be some expense to do that right. But that's the sort of thing, that plus the L-shaped corner that really pulls off the facade.
Yep.
And we'll be happy with the result, I'm sure.
We're the designers are meeting with the GCs this Friday to go over a bunch of things, so we'll
Okay.
discuss that with them and make sure that they have a good plan to get that right with the shingles.
Yeah, and then can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and then I guess the only other comment I had regarding the brick is just like at the very top course. I mean, usually like a brick structure. I mean, sometimes there's just an unceremonious end where there's just a top course and that's it. But usually, you know, there's like a what's the word? Like I don't know, like a coping stone or something. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy or expensive, but just, you know, like a masonry cap. It can be very simple. Because I mean, I agree with you. I like the simple design. I really like it, but I just feel like having just, you know, the brick just ends, you know, with one course at the top and nothing above that. It also, you know, having some kind of coping stone or some kind of cap will make it look more real too, because, you know, in reality with, you know, a brick wall, you have some kind of cap to prevent water coming in between the brick cavity and, you know, destroying the wall. So I feel like that might be the last little detail to making that brick believable, you know. And again, it could be very simple, just a little simple coping stone that could be painted the same color, you know, 2 inches thick or something.
That's great. And yeah, I agree, Shane. I think that sounds like a great detail. And we had talked about we'll need some kind of a drip edge up there anyways or something. So I think that's a great solution.
Yeah, thank you, Shane.
Yep.
That actually you know, that may be your way to add a design element and achieve what the drip edge was going to do anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think Shane's right, the subtler, the better, probably, you know, just something that offsets 3/4 of an inch or an inch, whatever it takes.
Yeah, I'll discuss it with them too, and that
Good.
sounds like a great way to do it.
Shane, anything else?
I guess just on the bench. So sorry to make you repeat yourself, but the penny tile, that's the current direction for the bench, right? Or is it when it's no longer the square tile?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, and then I see in the rendering there's some kind of, in the rendering with the penny tile, there's some type of material or edge that catches the penny tile on what's it, the third page, fourth page? Yeah, this one right here. I guess I'd just be curious as like what that is and what it looks like. And I know it's a very minor thing, but you do have to have something, if you know, if it's going to be penny tile that wraps an outside corner, you do have to have something that's going to catch it, to have a clean edge. So you know, it seems like a minor thing, but I feel like it could kind of make or break the look of the bench. And I don't know if what's shown now is, I don't know if that's, I don't know if it's wrong. I still know if it looks that great, or if it's an actual like material in real life that's being proposed, or if it's just the way it's rendered. But whoever drew this and rendered it is correct, and you got to treat the edge. I'm just curious as to what it is and if that's actually what it's going to look like, or what the plan is, you know. So just a little detail, or you know, whatever that product or that edge condition is going to be to, you know, to catch the penny tile.
I wish I could tell you off the top of my head, but let me see if I can find.
And yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with how it looks in the proposed drawing. But I guess just some kind of confirmation on what it actually is going to be, because I'm not sure what's proposed is, maybe it's a Schluter trim or something. Schluter is the name of the company. They do a lot of tile edges and things like that, like metal strips. So yeah, so anyway, I mean, it kind of looks like it's the same material as the penny tile, which would be cool, but I kind of doubt that that's the case. So I just wonder what it is.
So I'm looking at another a part of the plan, and it says painted marine grade wood surround.
Oh, okay. All right.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, even
Yeah.
better actually. So the side of the bench is just going to be painted wood, not penny tile. Because before, the side of the bench was the tile wrapped the side of the bench, right? When it was the square tile.
That is correct, and I'm just looking at-
Well, what you just described is consistent with what's shown in the rendering. It's just you can't really see the side of it. So I made an
Yeah,
assumption that there was
right.
tile on the side also, but that's even better. I mean, I think having a nice flat side is probably the way to go. I think that'll look good.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at one other.
I'll just jump in. Shane, I think you're really onto something good. This is one of those little details that, you know, is going to make that bench do what you want to do, Jeremy, which is look good. As we're seeing it, Shane, and we've got it blown up to like 3 by 5 feet. It looks like a slightly rounded plywood panel, painted, you know, as you said, Jeremy, and I think that's probably a good solution. The only other thing I can think of is a kind of rounded aluminum that would be painted, and then you could go back to penny tile on the side, but I don't know if there is such a product.
So I just found a new actual design. This is for the GC, but this is showing the front view with the penny tile. And then, yes, so it is the wood on the side, and that's where it confirms the painted marine grade wood. So yes, Shane, so that is correct. And I just looked at one of the rendering with a close up that does show that it is flat wood on the sides and the penny tile on the base.
Okay, yeah, no, I think that's great. I think that'll make it nice and clean, and I think that's the way to go.
Great.
Personally, I don't want to speak for everyone else, but I think that'll look good.
Basically a takeout place.
Mostly, yeah. With a couple of seats
And
inside.
you, there are seats. And
Or-
you can eat it on the bench. Shouldn't there be a trash can? Where will all these people, if there will be people sitting on the bench eating?
We will have a trash can inside, and I did want to talk, and I wasn't sure if this is the appropriate forum, but did want to talk to the town as well, or whoever the appropriate body is for that, about the potential to just put a can somewhere on the sidewalk as well. I don't know what the regulation or permitting is around that, but if, you know, it's something that we would pay for and manage, but just to make
Yeah,
sure
I
that,
think there is one further when you go PNG, closer to the
Yeah, I think
corner.
there's one
think
quite
there
near
is one,
PNG's, if memory serves
but,
me, sort of at the crosswalk.
but we also will have in the interior as well. But we would love to have one outside if we could.
Yeah, actually, I'm on Google Street View. There's a trash can that must be like, I don't know, 25 feet from the Moonburger door. It's like it's just out of range of that the rendering. This is very close.
we have a lot of cleaning.
We're ready.
Shane, thank you very much. Colleagues, anything else in that sort of spirit of looking at
I
details?
think that the detail about the bricks is really, really helpful.
Usually helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will be glad that that's. Okay. Let me just recap where we are. So this is post-public hearing. We're still in the deliberative phase. The major things that have changed since first proposed. The 4x4 glossy tile has now changed to effectively 2x8 standard brick size to be painted gardenia white, which is an off-white AF10, seems to be a number associated with it.
This is Benjamin Moore, by the way.
Benjamin Moore, okay. The bench is now penny tile, which is a red Pantone 1788C. We have discussed, and I think everybody at the table agrees, that the L-shaped corner brick is a really essential detail. Returning that brick to meet the cedar shingle, make sure that it's flashed in a way that doesn't send water back into the cedar. The large painted rocket on the eastern edge, which is somewhere between 1.5 feet or 2 feet, is going to be, at the moment, some motif that says rocket or moon, but not a full-on rocket. A masonry cap or drip edge has been discussed and recommended, and everybody agrees. The penny tile is meeting painted plywood sides that would be done probably with marine plywood and marine paint. And I would suggest, I think this is what's pictured, just a slight raised edge, probably rounded.
Oh, around the edge of the bench.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
thinking about those details that Shane was drawing our attention to, you know, what happens. And I would just also add what happens when those penny tiles, which always are offset, you know, there's going to be some tile cutting.
Yes.
To make sure you've got a clean edge and not extra grout. 'Cause
Yes.
That, yeah.
And just to be clear on the bench, and I can confirm that the rendering does have a raised edge like you suggested. We'll make sure that looks very good. We're not gonna if, you know, if our GC can do it and do it very well, we can do that, but otherwise we'll have the millwork person do it.
Yeah.
So,
No, I think, you know, everybody walking in is gonna see it.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's in your
It's
interest to
gotta
get
look-
that.
it's gotta look good.
I was going to say one other thing, which we've sort of kicked around in previous meetings. You know, we're still introducing a lot of tile to Main Street that doesn't have tile. My recommendation would be to make that bench, you know, for all practical purposes, permanent, but actually just bolted with some stainless steel bolts.
Right.
So that if Moonberger takes up larger premises somewhere else, it can come out and we're
Yes.
not sort of committing to tile otherwise.
That's
Is
the
that
plan, absolutely, yes.
okay? So removable but secure bench. Okay.
I think beforehand we were thinking more removable, but I hear you about the.
College pranks. Yeah. Yeah. Colleagues, am I forgetting anything that's material to?
Sorry?
No, are you?
It was,
Overlooked
we were trying to go
and
for
didn't
not the
mention
light as
it.
white.
Yeah.
Oh, the three lights. The lights. Yeah. Was it three?
And it does shine on the side of.
You would want something that has more reflection?
No, something
Yeah,
that's.
three.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Is it?
That's my.
Yeah,
preference,
yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
curious, you know, how
I-
you feel about it, because. When you look at it, it's so white.
I think that it looks, if you look at the rendering on,
Look at
It-
on the other side.
right,
Okay.
When you see real white.
and also, I mean, on the screen, I think it looks whiter on that screen.
So this is the same white as you have on the.
Well, rendered on the computer as close as possible, but
Yeah.
yes, that was the approximation that they were able to get.
Jeremy, two other things that slipped my mind. So we're also all aware that three approximately 5x6 lights will be over the Moonberger logo, and the logo at this point is planned to be painted
Correct.
directly on, possibly with the little gray callouts that we're seeing.
And this, those lights are in the application as well. So it's-
Colleagues, is there any further discussion? Shane, anything else? Okay. So I think we
I
understand.
like the lights. I like
Like
those
the
tiny
lights.
lights. They're cute. They look like little moons, so it's
The moons.
on brand.
Little planets above the moon. I think we're all clear on what we would be voting on if someone wants to make a motion.
The application. I would move that HPC 2210 be approved as recommendations have been made.
Seconded. Okay. And Shane, you agree? Okay.
Yes.
Colleagues, I think it's time to vote then. We have a proposal, we have a second. All those in favor of approval as submitted and amended in the list that we just went over. All those in favor? And Shane is aye, so unanimous, Chairman. Thank you for working with us.
Thank you
Yes,
so
thank
much.
you so much for coming back, and let's see.
I
Think
feel-
you got to a better place, which,
I
you
think
know,
so.
I truly do. I'm very excited about it. I think the brick will be terrific.
Yes.
I don't even like the tile anymore. So. I mean, I've changed the whole interior to brick.
What time? Who said? No,
No, I really do think this will be even better than what we've come in with. So thank you all for your input and wisdom on this. I'm very excited to get it done. We have a floor over there. If you go look, they poured the
I
concrete.
saw the cement truck the other day.
They poured the concrete on Friday, and you know,
We're not too far behind.
no, I think about a month. So could have been worse. But it was, used to be that you would open up the door in there and just be in this dirt pit down to hell or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
But now there's a real floor.
Be thankful you found no bodies.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Or earlier structures.
or structure.
No, yeah, you feel free, please.
Well, we really do wish you all the best
Thank
in the construction phase and the opening phase. We'll watch with great interest and feel very optimistic.
Thank you so
But
much.
everything-
Appreciate it, and expect invites when we open.
Yeah.
So
All right.
a few months away.
Great.
Great. Well, thank you all so much.
Thanks
So appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thank you, Valerie.
Is it okay?
Okay. Beautiful. Would anyone like those? We don't need them. Anyone want a paperweight?
I think I don't.
Okay.
Right. These can be yours if you,
Oh, yeah.
if you'd
Actually,
like,
yes,
just
I would
to
love to.
keep thinking about that.
I will absolutely put these in front of the tenors.
That sounds great.
Without painting it once it's all up.
This is awesome.
Looks
Thank
really
you.
nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
We didn't stipulate either way, so. Okay, thank you for attending. Look forward to the opening.
See Nikki over there with our team, all of us, often.
Very good. Well, all best as you go into that phase.
All right.
Thanks again for coming out.
Thank you all. We'll see you all later. All right.
Okay.
Take care.
Thanks. All right, thanks, colleagues. Yeah. Shane, thank you very much. We're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is, so I'm looking at the minutes. This is item D. It's an application for a certificate of appropriateness, a preliminary discussion toward that end. HPC 2211, represented by Mr. Ed Burke, 3 Raymond Lane in New Paltz, for 68 Main Street, which is actually 68 and 70 Main Street for the record. Ed, why don't you and George come on up and take a seat at the table. Thank you very much for your patience. That was the conclusion of what we think is a pretty consequential decision about Main Street.
Yes.
You know, something that's a little out of the ordinary, but we think that is going to be great and probably just adds to the vibe of New Paltz.
Absolutely.
Speaking of great, I'm so excited about this project. I was down taking more pictures today and really thinking about Main Street, and you're right in the hub of things.
Mhm.
So it's just wonderful news to think about a redo of those 2 buildings.
Mhm.
Are they one building? I was
They're one.
curious. They've always
they-
been.
No, I think back in the late 1800s, they weren't. They were 2 separate buildings. And at some point, they put
Put
together.
them together, yeah. That explains maybe the 2 levels of awning. Yeah, porches. Yeah.
That's 68, that's 70.
Shane actually provided a historic image of your building. Have you seen that image before?
I think that's the one that, I think I forwarded that to you.
Oh,
Did you to me?
On cell phones, that first day.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
the
maybe.
same
Oh.
picture. The one I had was, had some coloring on it. though.
Okay, it's got to be the same image. So yeah, but it's great. I mean, I really think of that as, core to the downtown.
I think that was done horses, right? That still had the hitching post to the right of the building or no? Just a tree was there? Is that the one with the
There's
tree?
a tree. Did
That alleyway used to be actually a hitching, where people hitch their horses.
Well, let's walk through what you have planned. We've described it as exterior renovation at 68, and I'll add 70 Main Street to reside the entire building with hardy clapboard and board and batten siding, stone or brick below, adding new stoops, handrails, and reducing the height of the overhang.
Mhm.
So if you want, I could discuss that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, so it took quite a few beers and a couple of years for me to convince Ed to clean up this building here.
Well worth it.
And so I I suggested to get a rendering done before he invests this kind of money in this building, which he did. We did for him. And so we had originally decided to put, you know, take this fascia board here, wrap it around the side, and then do different kind of sidings, horizontal on one part of it and board and batten on the other. We originally were going to put the board and batten on top, but you guys had made a suggestion of putting the clapboard on top, which is fine with us. We don't have any objection to that. And that's more like in keeping with the way the building originally was. So underneath the porches, pretty much, we also originally was going to do stone to the bottom of the windows along any concrete that's showing with a bluestone cap sill on top of that stone. Then we also, when we had a meeting with you there, talked about maybe doing the original brick, because some of the foundation was brick before.
Right, on both sides.
So going back to just a classic red brick with a bluestone cap as a sill.
What did you get a chance to see that sample?
That's what we were gonna,
Yeah.
that's a
'cause
real
that-
brick, but it's a face brick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that avoids the thing that can happen with bad brick siding, you know, just never looks right.
Oh,
But that's gonna,
That's real brick,
yeah,
just
nobody's,
face brick.
exactly.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking.
That's terrific. This is music to my ears, because the two suggestions I was gonna make, and I took a bunch of photos if anybody needs persuasion. I really took a hard look at your neighbors, and it's not that there isn't really stone in that part of Main Street. It starts about 4 doors up, and then you get that kind of eclectic.
Right, McGillicuddy's.
I'm not going to call it a mess, but it's eclectic up there. Whereas you're in the part of the village where it's brick and clapboard, and so those are going to be my two suggestions. You know, stay within that brick. I love the bluestone sill idea, because that's a local product. And, you know, that combination always looks great.
Yes.
And I think you'd also mentioned, maybe just when we talked about the problem of people shoving gum and cigarette butts into joints, and it's going to be reduced if it's mortared. You know, so
It'll be mortared in and there won't be any joints.
Yeah, and it actually will tie in well with the brick that's on the sidewalk. With the border.
that's a really good point, yeah.
So also there's 2 entrances, the pizzeria, which has this round concrete needing to be replaced item. And then there's this 3-rise little step platform. What's the shop here?
Kentucky.
Kentucky shop. So now that we're doing brick, so we're gonna square this off. And the same brick would be the risers, and then we would have bluestone on the platform. And as the same for this 3-rise little platform step item, we would do brick risers with bluestone treads, bluestone platform, and some wrought iron railing there.
Do you have a source for wrought iron, or do you just have
We
it
do all
fabricated?
wall fittings,
Yeah,
Gardner?
yeah. So kind of custom or
Custom,
semi-custom.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's,
gonna have to be.
yeah, I think it'll look better.
There's some nice square posts with some simple balusters, very simple square.
I love the sound of this project. I really
Yeah,
do.
it's
And I
cat-
appreciate your
this is all
responsiveness to
catnip
those two suggestions.
Yeah.
You know,
No, we're open and we want it to be done right. We feel like there's gonna be kind of a starting point for people to clean up their buildings downtown. You know, that's why I'm helping Ed with it, on the little time I have left.
oh, come on, sure. Says the man who can.
And I'll be there all
day.
I'll be there all along the way as it gets done. He has a contractor he hired already, and I'll be there to, you know, as it gets done, to go over all the fine details of it.
Yeah, no, that's good. And we're happy to help in any way. Question I have, what happens when we wrap around to the west side? Did you want to keep some of the board and batten, or you want to go clabbered all the way?
No, we do. We would like to, again, take this fascia board
Okay,
and that fascia board
Just
gets
continue.
wrapped right around.
okay,
And the top would be clapboard and the bottom, we would continue the board and batten that's left underneath the porch and continue that along the side. So it'll be a nice detail. Then I was in Beacon on Sunday and I took a picture of the building that the Ed, which I'd like to show you. And it's kind of gonna look. The clapboard on the top. Board and batten. And here's a little clearer photo of it, how it looks.
yeah, nice. You know, I went over to the ridge on your suggestion, and I really like what you did there. It's just, that isn't the pattern on Main Street.
No,
It's
yeah.
clabbered.
Either way, look, it's gonna look nice.
Yeah.
I think what you suggested is better. Yeah, with the clapboard on top. We went over and looked at it again today and we think that's the right way to go.
Is that your feeling as well? As I said, I took a bunch of pictures on Main Street, and you know, that's what the idiom is there, and brick below.
No, the brick absolutely makes sense. It's in keeping with the character, especially the buildings right across the street. It's all brick.
Yeah.
You know, the bistro is brick, so
Yeah.
it's,
Pretty much everywhere you look until you get up to Miguel Coyote. So this sounds great. Any suggestions or ideas or observations? Bill, you had color ideas.
Oh, when we get to the side, I can introduce.
yeah, and all the detail up top is all gonna stay. We're not,
Yeah.
we're not looking to get rid of anything.
Well, that's an important point. Yes,
Yeah.
all these brackets, soffit brackets and overhang details are all staying. We're just gonna get painted.
Did you know that they're featured in our brochure? We did a close-up of those star
I did see that, yes.
details, you know, that really called out to us.
So what happens with the paint colors is this comes pre-painted, so we can't just use any color. We have to use one of the hardy pre-painted colors.
I have the paint color suggestions for the brackets. and the footnotes
Oh,
for the
okay,
windows.
okay.
I understand.
So a trim color, you say,
Yes.
oh, perfect, yes. Great.
What are your thoughts?
And maybe, I don't know if you
So
can
look-
look at this.
So we have these, you know, these different gray colors. Our original approach was for this to be the trim, the paint, and for this to be the clapboard, which now that's going to be on top, and then the board and batten to be a darker shade of gray. So that the fascia board would come around in this color, and that band board would continue on the side in this color, and then you'll see these two, the corner boards would be this color, all the detail of the trim.
This would be, this wouldn't be the hardwood.
That's a trim.
That's the trim, the paint,
Window and door trim.
Yes. Well,
which it also could be white.
I would suggest maybe something neither gray nor white, but maybe like a cream color, perhaps,
what?
like a creamy color. I was just looking at the Hardyboard website and there was one cobblestone. I wasn't sure exactly how the colors would come out, but I just feel that the gray would not stand out enough. And if everything is gray, maybe it's just a one more.
So
A
that,
different color would give more
for different
dimension.
trim or different?
A different trim.
Oh, well, the nice thing about that is you can do samples, right? And you could get a couple of
Absolutely.
cans and see what.
And so, for example,
Yeah, that
we
could
can
be any color.
a nice, for the brackets, a nice burnt orange that would go well with the grays. But there is still time to decide on this. This would really highlight something like this. Or I can send you some combinations.
You could send them to Ed.
Yeah.
So you were thinking which one here?
For example, for the brackets,
Mhm.
you could highlight them and the window surrounds, something that would match the gray very well. Like not necessarily these colors, these are just something.
You're talking just specifically the brackets, correct?
specific.
And the windows.
Just the top part of the windows where you have this little watch. No, we are
Oh,
still
all right. I
already-
see what you're talking about. You're talking about this little extra.
He's talking about
Extra
all the
trim.
trim.
Not all of
Right.
them.
No, she's talking about this little decorative up
It's
top.
like a little lip.
Just to highlight.
Oh, just the drip cap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Could I see that? One of the nice things about this,
cap, and what else are you thinking?
yeah, there's a little
I'm just thinking more about.
profile. Yeah,
Since I
that's-
didn't have these, I couldn't really match anything that would be a perfect match.
Well,
but
no, if you want-
instead
if you
of
wanna-
gray,
Why don't you hold on?
Why don't you hold on to those
Yeah,
and then I can meet up with you one day and we can sit down and go over it.
Okay, so- Oh, a
This
nice
is another
thing
great-
is,
That's
you know,
the
you've got those little bits
I'm gonna give
and
you all
the
of
little
those to hold on
decorative
to.
bits, the
Stars.
little eyebrow, the stars,
Yeah.
with the eyebrows over, you know, those can be different colors. You can.
Yeah.
really
No, I know,
make this
I know.
really sing.
I will tell you that, when it comes to choosing colors and everything, it's just not my forte. I'm open to any suggestions, but I hope at the end of the day, I get to choose it.
Yeah, you do.
I will take your suggestions.
Yeah, actually, I have no concern on that. I mean, we don't, I think there's only one case when we had neighbors objecting to a color that was really vivid, and we stepped in, but otherwise, anything on it.
No, I want it to look nice. I
Yeah,
want
but
it
when
to
we
be.
originally started, he wanted to do pink trim and violet walls, and I kind of talked him to the gray scheme. So the reason why we came up with that gray scheme is, the roof, he just did a new roof a few years ago, and it's a gray roof.
Yeah,
Or else if it was a tan or a brownish roof, we would have gone with more natural tones. But so we're keeping the theme.
Yeah.
with that.
Looking at the old picture, any chance of shutters on the upstairs? I mean, that was something from 125 years ago. But
Yes.
it's, I mean,
And that would look really nice.
we might
I mean,
give you another color in there too.
I agree.
I think that would look really nice.
Shane agrees. Don't forget, yeah, Shane.
Hi Shane,
just a thought.
Hey there.
how are you?
Yeah.
I'm doing well, thank you. Actually, if I may, so just to be clear, the proposed new material, it's going to be vertical boards that's shown in the rendering. Is that the
No.
case?
No, we've moved to clapboard horizontal.
Okay, perfect, great. That was all right. Awesome,
Yeah, we all seem to agree on that.
awesome. All right, great.
Could I ask a question about the hardy board? So one of the things that's really clear in the preservation playbook that we all work from, the US government Secretary of Interior, is when you use specifically hardy board style material, they prefer it not to have the false grain. Do you know if this is available in
Yes,
smooth?
it is.
I would think.
I think that would be, the board and batten is gonna be kind of greenish.
Yeah,
It's a rough sawn sheet,
yeah, and
but
that's,
the clapboard comes in both.
yeah, I think
So
that
we could do the smooth.
they're really clear on that.
No, I
you
think
know.
that's great.
It's
I
just
agree.
A little more authentic.
Absolutely.
Right, and that's gonna be closer to the ground, so.
No, that's above.
That's
That's up high. Horizontal clapboard is above now.
You think you'll see that detail? Just out of curiosity, anyone?
I think
I
it
mean,
should
if
be
you're
smooth.
looking for it, it might even save you a few bucks, I would guess.
No,
the smooth
it's the same, but
same.
you're 100% right with that. Should be smooth. And I think those shutters, some nice louvered shutters like the ones in the original plan.
Yeah, thankfully, we've got those photos to work from.
And that could be another pop of a color. As it is in the plan, the original renderings, yeah.
Something also like interesting in that photo is that because you're speaking about rebuilding these little steps, if you notice in that photo, there's actually, like platforms, like I guess wood frame platforms. There's two of
Yep.
them that are built out.
Yeah.
I mean, is that something you guys might consider? I mean, it looks nice in the old photo.
I don't think the sidewalk's wide enough,
Yeah.
once you put that
Yeah.
in.
Yeah,
That
that's
would be-
true,
That would be
actually.
the whole sidewalk.
We gave
Yeah.
that up for parking, I think, years ago.
There's way too much foot traffic on that side of the street.
Yeah,
when you look
what happened to the depth of the sidewalk? Because when you look at the old photo and the new images, anyway, yeah, no, that's very
I
valid.
think it's a
point.
parking lane, Shane. At some point, they must have widened the street.
The trolley cars.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Makes
think
sense.
the old road had, the old gutters in it.
Yeah,
So
swales.
the road wasn't as wide. And then
Yeah.
when they widened that,
Double shutters.
yeah, because where the stoop pops out to the right,
Mhm.
you probably have, 4 feet, maybe 3 feet
Yeah.
between
It's
that and the end of the
definitely-
sidewalk.
Yeah. All right, yeah, because one of the other things is they have this like wood, looks like recessed or raised panels below the windows,
Yep.
which is nice, but I don't know if that detail works given the current iteration that, that no longer has
Yeah.
it doesn't really
The
work.
problem is what happens late night from 11 to 4. I would love to have windows that went all the way down, but it's not really conducive.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was talking about the wood panels below the windows, but I mean, either way, I think that the proposed brick that works, and I think it'll look really good.
I think it'll look great.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that would look like a blank easel for certain people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And
In regard to the shutters, these are apartments,
Yes.
so, would the shutters be stable or would they be able to move them?
No, they would be stationary. They'd be cosmetic.
Right, yeah.
Well, I would like to see them on hinges rather than screwed flat,
Yeah.
because then you get the detail like the old shutters that they were really made to close. And it's only 4 little hinges that you have to buy for them, and
But
it's a
if
real simple detail, and it's the right way to install
they- But if they are on
Agreed.
hinges, this person may close their shutters, this person may.
it. No, they're not gonna be available to be open and closed. There's clips on them, and it's just gonna be for the look of it being not flat on the wall.
Also, I really wonder if there is enough space on each side of each window, because when you look in the middle, in here, you have some pipe or something going.
That's a downspout, yes.
It's a downspout, which probably has to stay there. So in here you have a different levels. Here, there may definitely not be enough space for shutters.
Well, on the
Go.
original renderings, those windows haven't been relocated, so there are shutters on the original renderings.
Right.
The original.
The original picture.
Yes, they all, so they're gonna fit again.
Yeah,
The
they were
worst that
here.
it could be is a little jog on that downspout.
Yeah,
Here
I
you have
It's a
understand.
downspout.
I understand.
I also got Ed to put commercial grade gutters, the 6-inch gutter, which is bigger, so you're not gonna need that little downspout, the water to be carried
There you
all
go.
the way to the end.
Yeah, those are the old Yankee gutters up top.
Yep.
So he won't need that anymore, so it'll be pretty nice and clean in the front.
This looks great. Let's just walk through the process. So we need to do a public hearing because it's within the new preservation district and it's a major exterior change. That's going to involve signage and neighbor notification. Valerie's got all that in a Ready to go
I've done those
package.
before, so nothing new.
and if you find it convenient, we can schedule you for that public hearing in February.
What's the date?
Second Monday, 13th.
I am out. I am not in town.
I could be here.
Yeah, George can be here. That's fine.
If you're comfortable with that.
Comfortable with George.
And I'm very comfortable meeting with you beforehand.
I'll dial in though.
We might want to add a few more things, so we don't want you here to.
Yeah, I know that, George. I know that.
George said something about the solid gold bracket.
Yes, I thought that's what I heard as well. Yeah, I'm gonna be in the Dominican Republic that week, so, but no, I would like to be on that.
You'd definitely be welcome to dial in.
I would do that.
Sure. That
So,
way,
those things ahead.
We keep it moving.
I mean, I think we're in pretty broad agreement that this looks really good. So I think we're just down to some details and.
Well, it's interesting bringing the shutters in,
You should see that.
that third color.
To answer your shutter question.
And that little drip cap that you want to paint up top, that could be the same color. That could look
Yeah.
very nice.
I feel like there's a lot of,
Close enough to-
on Huguenot
close enough
Street, I
now.
think one of
The downspouts are there.
You know where else it may be? It's
Well, you could send. them
Elise
that.
Bacon's Pilates studio might have that
Yes,
touch. It's beautiful. It just
Yes,
gives
it
you
is.
this other color.
No, it is. A nice little drip cap on top.
Yeah.
It could be that drip cap and it could be the stars at the end of
Yeah.
the brackets.
Misha, comment?
They have Corey paint those underneath them.
I leave my comments to the public hearing.
Fine, okay. So that's what we'll do. We'll have a public hearing February 13th. We can be in touch at any point beforehand. Valerie will get you that packet. There is a little bit of, you know this already, Ed, there's a little bit of advance work that has to be done that can't all be done at the last minute, because I think there's a mandatory 10-day or 14-day. So the notice has to be up for at least 10 days and it has to go out to the neighbors at least 10 days.
As soon as I get it, it'll be done. Yeah, it's, I don't leave things.
You don't feel like somebody. who
No,
leaves
I-
things
no,
to-
If it's on my desk, I don't want it on my desk, so.
Oh, boy, I thought I wish I could work that way. This sounds great. Seriously, thank you for bringing such a great project. I think it's going to be the thing that motivates some other owners on Main Street.
Good. You know, the only other thing is, you know, they do have a garbage can, because, you know, the garbage can came up and I have a garbage can right there, as you can see. Yeah, I don't know if we want to do something on that as well. Maybe just try and paint it, the top the same color, as long as the village allows us to do that, and we kind of blend in.
I think they are uniform, the trash cans all over wherever you see them are changing. And they
Well,
are kind of
The
uninvasive.
uniform graffiti, yes.
Yeah, well, that might be a,
I mean, they are, it's a not invasive color, and I think that's not invasive, okay. Doesn't stand out too much in this night, I think.
what do you know about how do garbage cans work? So the village supplies it,
The village supplies them, the village
empties it.
empties them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any responsibility that you're supposed to call them to say it's
Nope.
full?
Nope,
Just the
they
village.
go through, I think, 3 times a week.
And they are bolted to the,
No.
they are not, they can walk away.
Well, they're pretty heavy.
No one really wants one.
No one really wants.
Yeah, there's a lot of weight to them.
Send you the photo.
Thank you.
No, this sounds really good. Please call on me or us if there's anything we can answer.
Thank you.
At some point, Camille, you
I
can
don't know.
liaise.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just text me and we'll get together and we'll try and come up with something that works for everyone.
Very good. Thank you, board. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for your patience.
Glad to see this all happening.
Me too.
Yeah,
So a
we
lot
are
of
as
the
well.
credit goes to you.
Great.
Have to figure out how to get the word out to the community.
Yep.
Which is a bigger job than it should be. But it is.
I actually just had one last comment, if I may.
Oh, sorry, one last comment.
sure.
Sure, sorry.
So no worries. So I like how you guys are bringing back the corner boards and how you're bringing back that, you know, the vertical board that's going to delineate 68 and 70. I think that's great. And something to think about. You know, this old image that we were looking at it kind of looks like two different corner boards abutting each other. And I know it's a minor thing, and I don't know if that, I don't feel strongly like it has to look like that, but I just wanted to comment that I like that you're bringing the corner boards back, not only that location, but also on the outside corners of the building. And then, just maybe something to think about, like, would it be worth it to, with that corner board that's in between number 68 and 70, that's it's going to be, within the field of the horizontal clapboard. It could be fun to make that look like two separate corner boards abutting each other, like it used to be, and kind of make it look like two different buildings, or maybe not, but just, I don't know, something I noticed in the photo that I thought was interesting. If you want to further delineate those two buildings, that could be a fun way to do it.
I somewhat agree with you, but when you're looking at the sidewalk with the porches, I think that kind of helps with that. Now that we don't have that, I don't know if it's gonna stand out as much.
Yeah, I was thinking that makes sense. Either way, I think even if it's just one board in that location, I think it'll look good.
Shane, we were just chatting. Camilla's willing to go down to the historic collection and see if there might be other images. We might have the only two that were ever made, but there might be something.
Yeah,
from the
I had
50s.
gone there
You've done it?
in the 90s, and that was really the only photo.
Lucky to
They
have
seem to
it.
have everything of the casino and everything down by the bank.
Right.
Yeah, man. If you want to come, I feel like this photo tells us a lot. It's really great. But if you want to, sure. Either way, I just wanted to say that I love how you brought that back. I think it'll look great. However you want to treat it in the details, we could look at it later. But even if it's just how it's shown in the drawing, I think that it's going to be an improvement.
Oh yeah.
You think?
I mean, if this makes you feel better, I think this is going to look twice as good as whatever it costs. I mean, I really think it's just going to become a jewel of the middle part of Main
And again,
Street.
forever, I couldn't find somebody who was willing to take off the aluminum
Yeah, just
and leave the other siding up, and being able to put the fern strips on and bump it out. Once, it's, a couple guys said, yeah, we can do that. I said, okay, then let's look at it.
And they're aware of how you would bump. I mean, the window frames are going to have to come out too, unless they're really protruding. I don't think that's going to be a big challenge.
No, they bump out. It should be fine.
This
Sorry,
is
what
great.
bump out?
I was just talking about, the window trim.
Oh yeah.
When the siding comes out, they may have to come out, but you think you're okay there.
As so it's not buried, right, Tom?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You want to keep some profile.
Agreed.
This is great. Happy travels,
Thank you.
and please be in touch in the meantime, and
Will do.
or if you need us. Otherwise, Val will be in touch.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks, Bob. Thank you, Shane.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone.
guys.
Thank you so much. Thanks for
I
coming
know your agenda. Good luck with the rest of the night.
out.
We fly through things.
Yeah, from this point, once we hit about 8:30, you'll be amazed how quickly. Thanks again. See you in a month. Okay, thanks, everybody. So, updates and discussions. Ann Oliver, fill us in, Steve, on where we are.
Okay, where we are, Essie and I communicated today. I have been tardy. This is a long project for me, but Essie has the draft that I did. What I needed from her, I think, was most importantly, was the legal names of things, the organization. I wanted to make sure that that was all correct. It's the Dr. Margaret Wade Lewis Black History Research and Cultural Center. I just want to make sure that was correct. And then I have not, at the last meeting we discussed, I needed to rewrite some of that so that David Weinkoop is not alone in his house right work. And I
Yeah.
needed to have that reflect that there were other builders that he worked with. And then I have not updated that, and I have not gotten any comments from anybody else. So this would be my last call for comments. Once I have those, I will reflect the document, the form will reflect those comments. And then Val and I conferred and thought it would be then the time to send it on to Susan Stassen-Cohen and Justin Bloodgood for their thoughts. And then and Essie said she would be looking at it this week. And so I hope to have her comments in soon. And then anything else that you wish to add, I can have the document reflected. And then I would think that for February, we should put it on the agenda.
Look at it more advanced.
And have it, yeah,
Is this the house?
yes,
That's the house.
It is the house.
it's not in good shape, but it's
Um,
unique. One of very few houses left.
Right, right, but, okay. To me, it doesn't have any distinguishing marks that could make it compared to other houses that he built. I don't know. I don't know what other houses he built, but it just seems to me like a completely very simple.
It's almost the distinguishing mark is that he built it.
Okay, so that's the
So
only
that's-
distinguishing.
There are many motifs and aspects of the house that are reflected in some of his other buildings.
Okay, can one find what the other buildings are? I'm just curious. I know it has nothing to do with this particular building, but,
I actually live in one. I actually live in one.
okay, and that
So-
was okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful, small house with a long history. There are a few more in New Paltz.
There's 9 of them.
One no longer stands. But and some of them are not in such great shape. So,
Uh-huh,
and
but
this-
livable, living,
yes,
lived in.
people do live. I mean, they've been cut up into student housing, or they've had bay windows added, or picture windows. things
So
like
this
that.
would be the only one that is actually landmark.
No.
Sort of.
Well, you're in the historic district.
We're in the historic district, so I don't live in a landmarked house. Could be, but
It could be. I mean, I think the practice has been because Huguenot Street is already protected. We haven't vigorously gone after any number of houses that could be.
and the history of this building makes it more worthwhile, and that makes it more worthwhile to save and to restore and to keep.
Mm.
Because there is a sign, somebody architects,
It's Dave Toto.
yeah,
Boulder,
Boulder
yeah.
architecture. What is that? What does it have to do with the house?
He is a volunteer consultant to the Margaret Wade Lewis
Okay.
Center. And he's done drawings. If you go to the website, which is not really all that developed, there's some images of the proposed renovations. But I think Valerie's projected what I was going to refer to. So when we talk about landmarks.
I know,
Yeah.
I wasn't really referring that much to that. I was just thinking now, if this were a house which had no significance, who would want to actually fix that up? Because that's going to be extremely expensive and labor intensive.
For sure. I mean, they're having good success with grants so far. But, you know, I think the real achievement, this has to do with our Partners in Preservation nomination. The real achievement is we would otherwise have lost an artifact from the African-American community and economy of the last century. It'd just be gone. And as degraded as it is, it's actually, its degradation or its neglect is actually kind of a benefit because it hasn't been cut up into a bunch of things. There hasn't been a big extension. You know, it's actually in a pretty, it's a degraded but preserved state. So as difficult as the job is going to be, and it's going to be really difficult. Stephen and I walked through the place and it's, you know, it was like the squatters. I think it was literally probably squatters. That
Right.
were-
When was it last occupied by a real person, do you know?
5 years.
5+ years.
And since then, it deteriorated so much.
It's gone
No,
downhill.
no, they lived in deteriorated condition, I'm sure.
Hmm.
I think that I wouldn't even, I don't know when the last time that house might have been a presentable place to live in 20 years ago.
Will Landmark in this property facilitate grants, opportunities for them?
This
Open
is-
up new opportunities?
This is what our hope is. And actually, one of the things that the mayor emailed me today is, you know, we could potentially list both the Margaret Wade Lewis Black History Research and Cultural Center and the Village of New Paltz, which technically still owns it
Mhm.
and has continued to own it because certain grants are available only to
Right,
municipalities.
right.
Yeah. So I think the hope is to play that in the most advantageous way. Um,
So that's where we are with that. So please send comments. Once I have them, I will resynthesize and then add these comments. Val and I will confer and send it on to Josephine and Susan.
That's absolutely great. Thank you so much for taking that on.
I'm sorry it's been such a slow process.
You know what? This is not a race.
Don't tell
We'll
me
get
that.
there.
Don't tell me.
Oh, it is a race. It is a race. In 2023, it begins up to be a race. So the second item is our Partners in Preservation Award. We have the first business agenda slot on the 25th of this month to present it to Stewart Shops. This is the current language. This is actually an image of where the certificate is, and I wanted to see if anybody thought there's a better wording. We did dance around the fact they didn't actually give it to the village. They sold it for $1 in a very advantageous way. So that's what generous transfer is meant to communicate.
Would it be Stewart Shops Inc. or is it Stewart? I mean, Stewart Shops is perfectly fine. I mean, the corporate name is Inc. I don't know
Oh.
whether we've done Little Light of Mine or IFO. We're all kind of smaller businesses.
Yeah. Yes, Chuck. One thing I'm noticing, Val, can we make that apostrophe a smart apostrophe as opposed to a straight one on Stewart's? Ouch. Okay. I hate to tell you, this one got dirtied by what it was sitting next to. I guess it's fine. We can ask whether they want to be known as Stewart Shops or Stewart Shops. Otherwise, the wording is agreeable to everybody. Okay,
And the PR piece looks nice as well.
thank you. Yeah. Camilla, did you have any corrections or amendments to that? The mayor did have a couple of pretty substantial changes that all made sense to me, so I'll incorporate those.
So it's generic transfer of the historic house. Transfer to where? It doesn't say.
We could say to the village, but it's really, the end point is not the village. The village is kind of a means to get it into nonprofit hands. I think that the tricky thing is they didn't preserve the house. They didn't donate the house. They transferred it in this very essentially donated way.
And it's no taping, it's just something they're gonna put on their wall.
It is.
Hopefully it's on the wall in the shop as well as in Saratoga or wherever they're.
Maybe we should give them 2 copies, actually.
I
You
think
know,
that'd be great.
that's a really good
Yeah.
point. Yeah. First time, I think it's the first time we've given it to a corporation, probably, or any other corporations in the village. Well, let's press on, everybody. So the Downtown Preservation District, Shane has given me the updated map. I just need to find time to sit down with the mayor to find out what we need to do legally to promulgate the existence of the downtown district. And then we can start talking about some of the workflow questions. Because Michael, you had raised a really good point about the distinction between design review and preservation. And we've sort of thought about it, but I mean, not to the point that we really have a complete answer. And I think the same is for the window replacement guidelines. That project is well along and it's just sort of died on my desk. Shane's done most of what that document needs. And then at some point, we just need to go look at some samples, make a decision about what we recommend, whether we want to get into actual brands and models or just talk about features. The logic for both of your benefit is we've already done this for split unit air conditioners where we have just like a little fact sheet about how you do it right. We're trying to do that for window replacement so that we make it easy for people at the beginning of the process to see that there is actually a distinction between, especially with divided light windows, there's a kind of cheap and not very good way to do it, and there's a slightly more expensive way, but within the more expensive is quite a range of options, and we're just trying to get some guidelines down there. And
Sensible, a little more complex with windows.
a little more
Gotta make
complex.
Splits because of the variety,
Yeah.
but I see the point.
And the whole point of the splits was, you know, put it at the back and we're done. Whereas you don't have that option with Windows. So number 5 is. Okay, has that been a long time or just recently? Okay, yeah.
You need the SPL was for,
Well, for the new district.
The new
we're gonna have to
district.
do the inspecting of the property owner.
Yeah, I mean, logically, at some point, we have to reach out and say you're not part of this district, but I don't know what our legal obligation is.
if the building department's not giving it, you could just call the town clerk. They could, I mean, once you just provide them the boundaries.
Is that all, that's all it takes?
It should be, I mean, in theory, we could do it ourselves using Ulster County Parcel Viewer, but
That's what I was hoping.
they were,
for, actually.
the clerk should be able to do it because they would have those SPL numbers too. Yeah.
Item number 5, everyone, is you know, the tragic story of the burnt building at 15.5 North Front Street. We recently got a query from forwarded from the building department asking whether review was necessary and whether the new structure would be subject to landmarking because the building next door is, and rightly. And the answer is yes, because landmarking is the parcel, not the structures, and it's one parcel. But the other answer is it falls within this new district, so we would be reviewing it anyway. So I've communicated that to the building department, and I fully expect that by next month we might have somebody coming in for a preliminary discussion, but the owner wants to build something there.
So it's going to be the same, it's going to be again a restaurant.
It'll be,
It's going to be, it's again going to be a restaurant.
that I don't know.
Oh, we don't know.
Yeah, I don't-
Is it
The
the
use is up to them.
yeah, but it's the same owner who's, and now the insurance is going to help them to build up a new structure.
Yeah,
But the owner of the building is not the owner of the restaurant.
Owner of,
The owner of the property is not the owner of the restaurant, the business.
and they have to be in agreement what's going to be, no?
The only person that matters is who owns the property.
That's going to be interesting.
yeah, it will be.
But what they can do is build in a substantial building than that was there. That was essentially.
It was a stable. It was literally a stable.
Yeah. As long as they retain the same footprint, they can go up. So they'll be able to go, visit 2.5 stories, or whatever it is.
County is building.
Yeah, just like, let's hope that goes better.
No, not without planning board review.
One of them said, you know,
Yeah, that's what she did say. That may be wrong, but. she
I'm not
said that.
sure that's right, given what what Sylvia Zuniga went through in her property.
Oh, yeah.
She did use
Yeah.
the same footprint, and she had a very extensive planning board review process. So I don't think Autumn is right about that. What, if there's any non-conforming issues, those are grandfathered in as long as they keep the same. So, and that may or may not be relevant there, but yeah, I don't think they escaped from the review. It would be a mistake if they could.
Yeah, that's
Off the record.
Anyway, that's what I know
Oh,
about.
but that's good.
Yeah, well, it's also nice to have people proactively come forward in that.
Mhm.
PB and ZBA consultations. Well, I haven't really looked at any of these. Have you seen anything that deserves comment?
I did get the letter as a neighbor. I did get the letter, so they did.
Okay.
They met their requirements.
I think they're all set. There may have been a couple of adjustments, as far as that bathroom. is concerned, what kind of stories they can have. I need to have a think. There may have been a few changes. 137, I haven't really that one.
We needed a slight height.
Think of these, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you for those updates. Number 7 is the restoration of the sign. Michael, we not only restored the sign on Huguenot Street for the African American burial ground, but did the same for our neighbors in Rifton over at the Sojourner Truth. There's a roadside sign just off the Sturgeon Pond, which Camilla did all the hard work on. A small team of us went and took it away and brought it back a month later, beautifully painted. You did? Oh, wow. Amazed. But the sad part of this is, here's another thing that's been sitting on my desk. We drafted a press release, Camilla did, just attesting to this, and then just time marched on. And something that we completed in September, maybe?
September.
Okay. Now seems kind of like old news. So I'm just wondering if, do we want to carry on with a press release, or do we want to maybe do something in the spring?
Well, maybe we can just do
Oh,
another
sweet,
sign
thanks.
in Huguenot Street. I think it's
We could do
and
that.
then
You want to do that?
I said that maybe we can restore another sign in Huguenot Street. I will identify one.
There is
Yes, I
one.
am.
It's not in, the one I'm thinking of is not in terrible shape. Do we have others in the place?
That'd be a
I
problem.
think I-
Yeah, no, I found it fun. if you're willing to do it. All right, let's think about that as a 2023 project. Felt like a stealth mission to go out with our drills and to take this thing off.
You didn't even cover up the license plate on your.
No, I
car.
didn't. Okay, so that's a good decision that will benefit the community. Huguenot Street report. Steve, you have things.
Sale pending per Zillow, 130 Huguenot Street. And it appears in the last couple of days that someone is starting to pack up the interior. As of last week, I think there were still Airbnb rentals going on. But I saw the owner there yesterday, and it seems as though things are moving ahead. The Reformed Church, I don't have the project number, but their project in the back, they were access. They were building. They were going to do some construction in the back for their elevator.
Oh,
Okay, so I walked by, and there's a contractor there. We were on our way for a walk. Walked by later, and they have the structure, the building, the small attachment to the church with 2 doors. And I didn't look inside to see what was there, but they are working and they are progressing on that application. So I'm sorry I didn't double check and see what exactly they were supposed to be doing, but that work has been delayed for a long time. And
I mean, a long time, over a year, if not.
oh,
yeah, I
three.
mean, Craig was,
Maybe more.
and Craig is not around to see it.
Yeah.
So, but the contractor finally got there, and it looks, good portion is done. There's some finished work, and there's some soffit, I guess, some lighting that need to be put in, or some vents. But work is being done, and progress is being made on that HPC project.
Was it just the pandemic that delayed it so much? I know that before the pandemic, several years, a friend of mine, her husband was in a wheelchair, and because they were waiting for the elevator. So let's not go very, very far back, but was there a complete stop of work during the pandemic now?
I believe it wasn't complete stuff.
Supply chain issues, and yeah, I think principally supply chain issues.
What I didn't have the plans in front of me, but it certainly looked like it was well constructed.
Terrific. Really good news. If you'd like, I could reach out to Craig and see what he knows in Arizona, but maybe we just let it take its course. He might know.
I don't think I have anything else on Huguenot Street.
Thanks for those updates. As you can see, we're well within budget as we approach about 60% of the fiscal year. No other comment there. The annual mailing, everyone. Did anybody get a copy? Right. Well, we've sort of kicked this one. So we've hoped for probably 2 or 3 years now to redesign the brochure and maybe just think about a different letter. But given now, I think especially the pending downtown preservation district, maybe we just, again, I mean, I think there really isn't even an option because this needs to go out next month in advance of the construction season. So Val, thanks for these queries in red. Shane, I don't know if you have a copy of this letter, but it's the standard letter that we send every year to the residents of Huguenot Street, plus those who own a landmark property. And maybe a really direct question, Val, is, do we just go ahead and get that list of properties, send this or some version of this to everybody in the new district, and that's their notification? I don't know what the mayor's going to advise. I don't think so. I really, Michael asked this. Oh. Yeah, I mean, insofar as what's designated, yeah, you're right. But in terms, I mean, the course that we took was acting on our capacity or ability to designate further districts, which seemed like a big efficiency.
So why does everything always drag on so long? The first time that it was mentioned that Elsing, for example, would become part of the newly redesigned historic preservation district. And then there was a village board meeting, it was discussed, it was approved, I think. And that goes back, I don't know, maybe a year,
Probably 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
And so why nothing happened, why nothing official happened since then?
Well, I mean, part of that is me being a volunteer and not having all that much time. I mean, it's hard to schedule an appointment with the mayor. My schedule was really busy in the fall. And I think there was just a kind of vagueness about what was next. I mean, when the village.
Oh, I see, what to do now when there was a decision made, how to implement it or whatever. I see.
Yeah, that's really where we are. And I think I've always been expecting that at some point we need to hear from the village attorney, like what legally has to happen. Does something have to go to Albany? Do we have to reach out in a particular way to the residents affected by the new district? And that, I mean, that definitely has to happen. It's just very difficult.
To know who should actually do it.
Well, I kind of, yeah, a little bit. And it's just, I mean, I guess I'm pleading volunteerism and a full-time job that has a lot of demands. It's just been really hard to make that happen. But I think it needs to happen because something like this should go out soon if we're advised to do so. I mean, I think your neighbors on Elting know because they were involved in the discussion.
Right.
I think that many of the property owners on Main Street don't know. They don't read the paper, they don't look at the website.
Yeah, so I think it would be beneficial to everybody if everybody knows, because what if you are in the newly named district and you are going to go ahead with something just on your own because you don't know that you are part of it and that you have to approach the commission. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't like being in this limbo either. So
Best case scenario, do you think this would go out before February 22nd? I'm just wondering aesthetically whether this chart on the back would be remaining 2023 meeting schedule, because the January 25th submission and the February.
there's a good point. That saves us a little.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Then that's great.
You know what I think will happen? I think we should go ahead because we're practiced at sending this letter. We've done it for 10. Yeah. Let's do that based on this. And then let me pledge that I will connect with Tim, figure out what our move is with everybody else. And we can work on some variation on this. The brochure is going to be the same. Although I think we may want to point people to, we do point people.
About the possibility of not doing the brochure because it's related to the map that's mapping type
That's
is not available. Just getting this out, because we've got the meeting dates and general information.
Maybe we'll do that. Does everybody think that be an efficiency? I mean, also, most people who would get the brochure have had the brochure every year for 10 years. It hasn't changed really. Yeah. Let's do that, Bill. That just speeds things up a little bit. And you and I can do the fine tuning of this letter. And then I really will meet with Tim ASAP so that I can move that forward. Good. Everybody, it's kind of late, but I'm wondering if we could just quickly talk about what goals we have for this year. Here's our first meeting of 23. And, you know, just in the spirit of kind of charting a course for what we'd like to see happen, top of my list would certainly be reaching out to the community and making sure that everybody affected by the new district knows about it. Camilla, what's on your mind?
I guess we just
Maybe pace ourselves like one next year. Are you glutton?
cross.
Okay. As many as you're willing to paint, I'm willing to screen.
Look out.
Yeah. Stephen, can you think of things that you'd like to see done?
I'd like us to keep up with Partners in Preservation. I think it's something that has been growing. I mean, certainly before I was on the mission, but I think IFO, I mean, it's very nice. I mean, I was on there going to lunch there and checked out on their Facebook page, and there was, there was the stuff. So our photos and, the awarding of the plaque, I think Stewart's is great. And I think, it's always a challenge to come up with who might we else otherwise wish to recognize. I think that's important. And, I do think that over the next year, the Ann Oliver House will continue to be an important thing in the village. And, our role may diminish once the landmark status is, it progresses, but I think, we'll always have a role with, with whatever develops at the Ann Oliver House.
Strongly feel. I think this will be the year that project really takes off. I'd like to get those fact sheets going, so the Windows one, and then we can think about other ones. For example, that discussion of hardy board siding. Be nice to get something that let people know that that stuff exists, because a lot of people default to vinyl. Feels like a pretty full year. Michael, have you any thoughts?
No, I'm not remembered, but you have another one.
Shane, any thoughts? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, finish up the window document, and then, I'm not sure what might be the, the next kind of detail to tackle in terms of just letting the community know, like, keeping them informed on what their options are, and all that. Maybe, yeah, you said the siding, the hardy board. I think that's a good one. I don't know. I'd have to think about it, but we'll get the window one done, and then we'll see. I guess, maybe there's something that'll pop up in the projects that we review, and it'll be clear, like, what we could focus on next. But offhand, I don't know. I just want to get this window one finished.
Yeah, well, you've done your part. It's sitting in my inbox, so to speak.
Well, I actually made a few more edits, so I'll send you the most recent draft this week.
Okay, great. Yeah, that would be great. Thanks. I think we could potentially do a short one on shutters. There's some really bad flimsy shutters, and then there are better options, like George was saying, the ones that even non-working hinges give a little profile to them.
And didn't we discuss shutters?
Yeah, that was kind of the. Okay, this. Yeah, do you think we have a chance to be live?
even if you don't have a reception.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. This, everybody refers to the Quaker Friends. They've got that's a really beautiful structure, and I think there's potentially some interest in their having it landmarked, which would be a great gain. I have to say, Alan Ross has been really helpful in kind of floating that idea to fellow members of the board that he sits on. Thank you. That's a really good. I actually think the Partners in Preservation, I think this is going to be a really easy year to give awards because we've got the lemon squeeze. We've got the renovation of, what is it, 117 through Main?
Yeah.
The pizza. And
Yeah.
potentially these projects. Okay, that seems like a good, we'll make sure that the minutes reflect that list, or we can generate a separate one. Training and professional development resources. Val's been reminding us all along. There's also the on-demand version at NeoGov. Login. Right, but those are valid. Any other business? Anyone? New business? Business that we. I don't know if we need executive session. We sort of left that on in case. I don't know that we do. If there's no new business, is there a motion to adjourn?
For adjournment.
How do we feel about adjourning, Shane?
I love the idea.
You're probably thinking how much you'd like to go to bed and sleep off this thing you've got. Thanks for
no,
your-
I'm fine. Yeah, no,
Shane,
no, of course.
once
I'm
again-
happy I was able to join via Zoom. So thanks, Val, for facilitating that.
Thanks for agreeing to do it. Shane, in particular, I think, we wouldn't have caught that detail, those two details on Moonburger. So thank you for your close eye. 3 details now that I think of it, the bench as well.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I thought Camilla's suggestion